So Disney has had a couple of PR disasters throughout all of 2023, and I think the biggest one of all was Snow White 2025, which by the way stars Rachel Zegler and now CGI dwarfs that have been inserted into the current version of Snow White, and how basically the overall PR tour is set to begin by the summer of 2024 into the fall to kind of ramp things up before its March of 2025 release date. They plan on dropping a trailer sometime by Q2 of 2024 to begin marketing this film. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future updates. You can also follow me at Mike01. I thank you also very much for the great and kind support. Now, the thing about Rachel Zegler is that we know that Disney has been pretty much on this strategy of really giving her this apology tour and really kind of tightening her behavior based on what she actually did to Disney's, last piece of their image that they had left ever since she said what she said about Andrew Burnap, what she said about Snow White 1937, that drove a lot of Disney fans away, that caused a lot of Snow White family fans to boycott the upcoming live-action film. It got that bad. And this is exactly why you have that Variety interview that's been spreading like wildfire. Disney's doing whatever they can to get that interview out there as much as possible. It was all organized by Disney with Variety to get, of course, Bailey and Zegler together as the two actors that play, of course, Little Mermaid and Snow White now. Now, interestingly enough, on top of all of this, with Disney already heading into endless damage control plans for many of their films that have released in 23, one major development has to do with actress Rachel Zegler and her response to getting fired from multiple studios in Hollywood. Rachel delivered the following: "I just believe that this business is extremely unfair. One second you are attached to something special, and the next all bets are off based on toxic fans and how they have the power to convince studios to make the wrong decisions one too many times. I can say that I have actually been dealing with this firsthand, and it can be very frustrating to deal with, especially when you are an actress that knows you can provide the world an amazing performance to everyone. I can confirm I had many opportunities that were on the brink of getting announced, and I was overly excited about becoming a part of these new stories from various studios that I had worked with before in the past and new ones that I got the opportunity to talk with. But sometimes things just don't work out, and unfair in the worst way possible that you could imagine. Because in reality, it boils down to loud and opinionated fans of these films or franchises that devalue us as hard-working actresses. Especially me, since I really study the characters I get the opportunity to portray. I am proud to have gotten the role of Snow White, and we are set to give the world an up-to-date version of the character that best fits the modern female. But some studios need to seriously smarten up and listen to their talent, and the actors that they agree to bring on to these films, and avoid listening to angered fans that hold no say in what actors should get the chance to play a specific character of any race or gender at that. I think we live in a terrible time right now, where the people have too much influence over studios and their decisions that they make without the right judgment in place. I just happen to be one of those unfortunate hardworking actresses that was wrongfully pulled from certain chances I would have loved to talk about." Now, let me just stop right here for 1 second, guys, before I move on. Now, the thing about Rachel Zegler is that we know that Disney is on this strategy to really kind of keep her on her best behavior. And we talked about what was happening behind the scenes. There's a lot of struggles happening between Zegler and the Disney heads because she does not want to keep this up in the long term. She does not want to act like how she acted in the Variety interview until March of 2025. And look, we all know that's not her real self. We all know, judging by Rachel Zegler's past social media posts on Twitter, which is now X, and what she said about many different things, especially Jeremy Renner. Do you guys remember that whole ordeal? What she said about Jeremy Renner that was just ludicrous and insane. But when you look at that Variety interview, and if you have not seen it, I do suggest that you guys go ahead and catch it, because it really is so unrealistic. You can tell that how forced it was by Disney to push Rachel Zegler to really act on her best behavior, and it truly is a quote-unquote apology tour. This is something that is running wild over at Disney, not just with Rachel Zegler. This has happened with many other actresses before in the past of different films and or franchises, and they're not the first studio to do this. Many studios have done this before, and it's nothing really new. It's just quite surprising that we came to this actual point that they had to match her up with Bailey, and we talked about why they did that last week. It was all about affiliating her with a well-behaved actress. Alright, we talked about how that was also organized by Disney. Say what you will about the Little Mermaid remake, I don't like it. If you guys like it, that's fine. But one thing I will be honest about is Bailey was on her best behavior. For the most part, she may have had a couple of blips here and there where she kind of like said some things, but really for the most part, she really knew how to be very professional and just act like she just had to do her job properly and move on. That was it. It never got personal for her, and that was it. So, moving onwards, this is where things get interesting about Rachel. Now, to top things all off, she goes on to conclude, I just happen to be one of those unfortunate actresses. Right now, I am strictly focused on Snow White. Anything beyond that, I have no idea what awaits me, but I have learned to ignore loud, biased opinions on social media. It definitely has already made me a better actress as I am working on perfecting my art for potential future offers of whatever or whoever wants to provide me with an exciting character to play. I just ask for many of these studios to become more fair in this business, especially for actresses like us who work many times 16 hours a day on these projects, who expect to have work on a follow-up or another related project that could offer us a bright career. Now again, we know that Zegler really does not care about the audience. We've pretty much seen what she said before in the past about Snow White. You can never undo that, and Rachel's aware about that. Disney's aware about that. That's why that Variety interview is being pushed left and right by Disney to no end. And this is all Bob Iger's doing, for those of you that do not know. This is all Bob Iger's doing, because it's all about really kind of creating as much positive PR as possible that really is going to promote Snow White 2025 properly. Now, there's a lot of factors that went into the delay of Snow White. Some of it, yes, had to do with the strike, but most of it, believe it or not, had a lot to do with many of the problems that were happening with the production. We know that a lot of test screenings were failing. There was a lot of creative differences between the director, Mark Webb, and the writers, of course, such as Greta Gerwig, who, by the way, wrote the Barbie film. She's a part of Snow White. There were a couple of drama moments behind the scenes of this movie, essentially, that kind of made things a little bit more complicated for Disney. And so we are going to find it to be very interesting once this trailer drops to see what kind of feedback that they get and what Disney ends up doing with their revamping of the Snow White marketing strategy. Alright, anyway, so guys, drop a comment below, fill me in below in the comments what you all have to say about this, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys later.